The story begins with a vivid portrayal of a complex and dynamic family scene, centered around the second daughter, Futaba. She is depicted as a lively, multi-talented girl who approaches her family's plans with enthusiasm and a genuine eagerness to participate. Her cheerful nature stands in stark contrast to her older sister, Io, the family's acclaimed actress, who wears a cool, almost icy expression when dismissing anyone who isn't of pure Amagasaki lineage. Io's aloof attitude underscores her rigid adherence to tradition and bloodlines, making her a formidable gatekeeper of the family's purity and honor. Meanwhile, the sixth daughter, Nana, a talented singer, remains silent throughout this tense gathering. Her quiet demeanor and distant gaze suggest that she is absorbed in her own thoughts, perhaps disconnected from the chaos around her, lost in her inner world far removed from the familial drama. Then there is the fourth daughter, Shiki, a spirited voice actress known for her boisterous laughter, which echoes through the room as she revels in what she perceives as the absurdity or awkwardness of the situation. Her laughter, tinged with amusement and perhaps a touch of sarcasm, serves as a stark contrast to the seriousness of the others, highlighting the different ways each sister copes with familial tensions. At the head of the table sits the formidable figure of the family's head, a shadowy presence whose authority is unmistakable. She is Amina, the matriarch, a powerful and influential CEO whose piercing gaze and commanding presence leave no doubt that she is a woman who rules with an unyielding hand. Her stance makes it clear that she has moved beyond the stage of mere discussion. She is no longer interested in playing games or sugarcoating her decisions. In her mind, certain issues have been closed, and her authority must now be accepted without question. With a voice that brooks no opposition, Amina declares that men have no place within the Amagasaki household, reinforcing her stance with unwavering resolve. The scene widens, revealing the entire family sitting around the table. The eldest daughter, the middle sisters, each in their own worlds, except for one young boy who stands, completely stunned and overwhelmed by the revelations unfolding before him. His eyes widen in terror as he slowly perceives the reality. Not a single sister is willing to defend or support him. An overwhelming sense of helplessness grips him as desperation streams from his eyes, and he begins to plead with the stone-faced women, begging them to reconsider their harsh, seemingly final judgment. His voice quivers as he recalls his devotion and efforts, his unwavering belief that he was part of this family, part of their shared history. Tears threaten to spill as he desperately reminds them that he is their brother, the only family he has left in the world. His final, heartfelt appeal is filled with raw emotion, a plea born out of fear and longing. He refuses to relinquish hope, clinging to the hope that they will see reason and embrace him once more. For a moment, it seems as though his words might reach them. However, Amina remains silent, her expression unreadable, her silence deafening. She shows no sign of being moved by his emotional outpouring. Behind her calm exterior, the air thickens with a sense of cruelty, as one of her sisters, likely Io, emits a cruel, mocking laugh that pierces through the uncomfortable silence, adding a bitter edge to the scene. Breaking through the mockery, Io's voice cuts sharply into the chaos, her cold, unyielding tone dismissing the boy's begging as utterly pointless. She delivers an icy truth that shatters whatever little hope he still clung to, that he was never truly one of them to begin with. She's blunt and merciless, making it painfully clear that his connection was purely superficial, a contractual obligation that held no real familial bond. The boy stammers in disbelief, struggling to process such harsh words coming from those he once believed were his family. His world seems to crumble beneath him as he watches the hard truth dawn in her eyes and in Amina's indifference. The matriarch sighs, a gesture of boredom and mild impatience, showing her utter disregard for his denial and emotional pain. Her indifference adds insult to injury, deepening his despair, as he grapples with the heartless reality that he has been nothing more than a pawn in a cold, loveless transaction. Amina finally clarifies that his entire presence in their lives served only to fulfill one specific condition laid out clearly in their grandmother's will. The real secret, buried deep within the older document, was always intended to define his role, nothing more than an obligation, a contractual arrangement rather than genuine kinship. She scoffs dismissively at the idea of actual familial bonds, making it clear that what they had was nothing more than a legal contract. Her words confirm the painful truth. Their entire relationship was a cold, calculated exchange aimed solely at acquiring wealth. The boy is subjected to a relentless barrage of past resentments, bitterness, accusations, and words of disappointment aimed directly at him. They brand him as a useless failure, someone who wasted their time and resources and failed to meet their expectations. With the triumphant smile of someone who has finally severed all emotional ties, Amina announces that the long, drawn-out charade is over. The contract's official termination date is revealed to be this very day, his 18th birthday, a milestone that now signifies the end of his supposed family relationship with them. A sinister glint appears momentarily in one sister's eye, reflecting a skull, a symbol of death and finality, as she subtly suggests that this day should be marked by a celebration. The words chosen hint at a dark undertone. They are not just celebrating his adulthood, but finally, the complete dissolution of their ties. The scene takes on a disturbing tone as he is wished a superficial happy birthday, but it is accompanied by a final, cruel farewell, a symbolic cast into a nightmarish vision of death and obliteration. A banner bears the true reason behind their supposed celebration, finally getting rid of him, erasing him from their lives. His mind flashes back to the countless moments of effort and hope, naively believing that he might earn their acceptance someday. Yet now, that cherished memory of a happy family dissolves as the horrifying truth sinks in, that they were never truly his family at all. Tears well up and fall unbidden as he finally accepts the devastating reality. The people he thought loved him were never more than strangers wearing masks of civility. As the symbolic flame of a single candle flickers, signaling the end of his last emotional effort, the darkness envelopes his face, which is now hidden in shadow, an emblem of his final acceptance. Quietly, he comes to terms with his cruel destiny, acknowledging that his place in this world has been permanently taken from him. He is ordered to surrender his phone and personal tools, ensuring that their secrets and plans are kept safe from any future interference. In a final, silent act of submission, he places his device on the table, complying without resistance, his heart heavy but resigned. The sisters observe him leave the room. Their expressions shift from tired impatience to gleeful relief, realizing that their long-awaited goal has been achieved. They hurl insults at him, telling him to get lost, to never return. A final act of rejection that seals his exile. Despite the pain, he forces a strained, painful smile and quietly thanks them for everything, trying to show gratitude even in his suffering. As he walks away, a symbolic gesture takes place. The photograph of him is thrown into a flame and consumed by fire, symbolizing the erasure of his existence from their lives, his identity slowly burning away. He is cast out of the mansion, his luggage left behind, and he takes one last, lingering look at what was supposed to be his home, a place that was never truly his. A tear escapes his eye as he offers a final, wistful farewell to his former self, the boy who once believed in family, love, and belonging. He silently mourns as he steps into the unknown, now entirely alone in a vast world, with no one to turn to and nothing left to hold on to. Little did he realize that a chance encounter, waiting just beyond the shadows of his despair, was about to alter the course of his life forever. His mind flashes forward to a fateful meeting, an event that would change everything and set him on a new path. This is the story of a boy who lost everything dear to him but, through unforeseen circumstances, discovered a new purpose, one rooted in supporting others who are lost and suffering. A glimpse into his future displays his remarkable transformation, from an overlooked underdog to a key figure in the world of entertainment and show business. However, for now, he remains trapped in his harsh present, a tiny, rented room that feels more like a prison than a refuge. His childhood dreams of a normal, happy life seem shattered beyond repair. Overcome by overwhelming despair and a deep sense of betrayal, he feels the weight of his loss once more. His new existence begins on the lowest possible rung, the very bottom of the social ladder, without family, without a home, and with no money to his name. Desperation drives him to walk the cold city streets, his heart set on survival against all odds. Each step takes him closer to an uncertain future, yet his resolve remains unbroken. His journey leads him eventually to the gates of Yumakoshi Gwen High School, where a new chapter begins. The next morning finds him standing in the school's administrative office, luggage in hand, seeking acknowledgement of a difficult and painful truth. His voice is calm but determined as he announces his intention to drop out, shocking the girl seated at the desk before him. This girl, who is revealed to be the well-known idol Asha Asuka, reacts with frustration and anger, protesting his decision to leave after enduring so much hardship. He attempts to defuse the tension with gentle humor, lightly chiding her for her formal attitude while appreciating her honest anger on his behalf. A flashback shows their previous encounter in the entertainment industry, an industry that has shaped their lives. He recalls her striking presence on stage, her fame as the leading icon of Asterisk, Japan's most popular idol group. She is depicted in her element, glamorous, captivating, and at the pinnacle of her career, an icon adored by millions. Asuka's persona in the present is revealed to be rooted in that world of stardom. Yet she shows genuine concern for the boy before her, moved by his unwavering resolve. Overwhelmed by her unwavering support, he is brought to tears, amazed that someone so renowned and successful would care about someone like him, an outsider and a loner. His emotional overwhelm reflects how much her kindness means in his bleak circumstances. Just as the tension seems to grow, a new woman enters the scene, calling Asuka to settle down. But the idol passionately defends him, standing up for his right to make his own choices. The woman, revealed as the school's chairman, Ashiya Sakuya, then turns her attention directly to the boy. With a gentle smile and a warm yet firm tone, she indicates that he is not being forced to leave, but that his decision is his own. She urges him to open up and share the true reasons behind his choice, revealing her desire to understand and support him in overcoming whatever difficulties he faces. The scene leaves the reader/viewer with a lingering question. Will he find the courage to confide in her, or will he continue to hide the painful truth inside? The scene unfolds with the chairman and the leading star of the show both leaning in attentively, their eyes fixed intently on his every word as if their entire understanding of the situation hinges on his next statement. An awkward pause follows as he hesitantly admits that there's no particular reason driving his decision, an answer he gives with a tentative tone, trying to diminish the significance of his situation and appear nonchalant. His vague and non-committal reply only serves to fuel Asuka's growing frustration, who firmly grips him by the shoulders, demanding that he take this matter seriously and recognize its importance. He, in turn, explains that a sense of overwhelming guilt prevents him from staying, a confession that leaves Asuka puzzled and searching for meaning behind his reasoning. He begins to reflect on Umakoshi Academy, a renowned institution celebrated for nurturing future stars in the entertainment industry. This school's reputation for elite training and its focus on cultivating talent makes his decision to leave feel even more significant. Since he has decided to abandon his career in show business, he confesses to feeling completely out of place among such dedicated and ambitious students, those who are passionately striving to reach their dreams. With tears welling up in his eyes, he admits that if he were to remain, it would seem like a betrayal of all the hard work and effort his peers have put into their craft. The emotional weight of his words hangs heavily in the air, and Asuka, observing his anguish, begins to realize just how deeply he is hurting. Her concern deepens as she notices the vulnerability behind his words, sensing that he is battling inner turmoil of a magnitude she hadn't expected. He sheepishly confesses that his attendance at school had been so poor, so inconsistent, that it was as if he had already dropped out long ago. His admission comes with a hint of embarrassment, revealing the extent of his disengagement from his studies and commitments. As her tension shifts, Asuka's expression morphs into one of curious suspicion as she questions how many staff members have been supporting his sisters behind the scenes. The absurdity of managing a family of 7 top-tier celebrities alone begins to dawn on her, and she becomes more insistent, emphasizing how unreasonable it is to assume that one person could handle such an enormous responsibility without help. At this point, the chairman interjects, providing clarification by listing the massive team typically required to support performers of such caliber. She asks resolutely about the size of his own support staff, implying that it must be substantial to manage so many demanding careers. The boy, with a dazed look, then shocks everyone by revealing that he was, in fact, the entire support crew, completely alone, handling every aspect of his sister's careers single-handedly. His casual tone and undertone of honesty surprise Asuka, whose eyes widen in disbelief. She exclaims in disbelief, her voice a mixture of amazement and incredulity, insisting that it is impossible for just one individual to carry such a heavy workload. Leaning closer, she presses him for a full explanation, questioning the very reasons that brought him to the school and seeking to understand how he managed to sustain such a daunting feat solo. The chairman, playful and teasing, then reveals that Asuka had set up an alert with security, causing the girl to turn bright red with embarrassment, fully flustered by the revelation. Overcome with mortification, Asuka quickly stammers that he shouldn't feel obligated or indebted to her simply because she is the daughter of the chairman, a statement that only increases her embarrassment. Her composure unravels entirely, and she turns away dismissively, her cheeks blooming with color as she struggles to maintain her usual tough exterior. Her embarrassment is compounded by her mother's amused gaze, which silently observes her daughter's flustered state. Despite the situation, he cannot help but smile gently at her. A smile tinged with warmth and a sense of affection, finding her vulnerability unexpectedly endearing. Quickly, he offers a light-hearted apology, laughing softly as he tries to diffuse the tension. But she, in turn, snaps at him, grabbing his hand to stop him from speaking further, clearly overwhelmed. A young girl's flustered plea follows, where Asuka pleads with him to stop calling her cute, her tough facade crumbling completely under the weight of her embarrassment. The frustration and shy vulnerability in her voice reveal how much she is flustered, essentially exposing her true feelings beneath her strong exterior. Her moment of embarrassment suddenly shifts into tears, tearful frustration and emotional turmoil, as she demands to know what exactly he desires from her, seeking clarity amidst her own confusion. He then unexpectedly breaks down himself, his emotions surfacing as he is overwhelmed and begins to cry, tearfully confessing that she is simply too adorable for him to resist. His feelings pour out freely, and his words resonate with sincerity, as he laments how her cuteness has profoundly affected him. The chairman clears her throat to interrupt this tender, heartfelt exchange, asking a final question that feels weighty and significant. She reminds him that from this moment onward, his life is his own, unburdened by previous obligations or expectations. A new chapter waiting to be written. She then formally inquires about his plans moving forward now that he is leaving behind his career in show business, seeking a clear answer from him. Both the chairman and Asuka watch him attentively, their expressions gentle but expectant, waiting for his response. For a moment, he hesitates, caught in a swirl of memories and emotions, before recalling his past sacrifices. How he dedicated his youth to working behind the scenes to support his sister's careers. All he has ever truly wanted was to lead a normal life, to go to school, to make friends, to perhaps stumble into a bit of romance, and to simply experience ordinary youth. Driven by heartfelt conviction, he boldly declares his genuine desire to finally live that normal life he's yearned for so long. A simple yet profound wish. A knowing smile forms on the chairman's face as she reveals she already has the perfect place in mind for him, one that aligns precisely with his newly expressed dreams. Hours later, he arrives in a quiet, unfamiliar town, leaving behind his old life of fame and relentless work to begin anew. His mind fills with gratitude for the chairman's incredible generosity in not only arranging his transfer to a new school but also ensuring he has a place to live, someone who cared enough to take this step. He recalls her strange but kind words, unaware that she harbors her own motivations for helping him, reasons she keeps hidden beneath her caring exterior. Overcome with a mixture of awe and gratitude, he vows to work part-time to repay her kindness, covering his rent, his expenses, and the countless sacrifices she made for his future. With the chaos of his previous existence finally behind him, he steps forward towards the start of his new life with a hopeful heart and a determined spirit. The prospect of living an ordinary school life fills him with excitement, and he can hardly contain the thrill of finally pursuing the tranquility and simplicity he always desired. His optimistic journey is suddenly interrupted by the sound of trouble just ahead. A scuffle between two menacing delinquents cornering a solitary female student. The delinquents sneer at the girl, their seemingly friendly invitation masking a sinister intent as they block her path. His dream of peace is shattered as he realizes that this new town might not be as safe or welcoming as he had hoped. The underlying danger lurks just beneath the surface. Panic seizes him as he imagines himself caught in a fight, defenseless and unprepared to handle such violence. His attention snaps fully back to the scene as he observes the trembling girl, visibly terrified and desperately trying to keep her composure. Without hesitation, he pushes his own fear aside, recognizing that he cannot simply stand idly by while a girl is in distress. At that moment, a new girl appears on the scene, her eyes filled with a fierce determination to step into the fray and protect the vulnerable girl. Her mind is firmly made up. She has chosen to intervene no matter what risks lie ahead. With remarkable bravery, she steps forward, confidently grabbing the arm of one of the delinquents and calmly instructing him to back off. This tense confrontation takes place on a quiet street right outside a neighborhood store, where the tension is palpable. The aggressors shift their attention to her, threatening her with harm if she refuses to step back. Her act of heroism, driven by instinct and resolve, leaves her momentarily confused by their apparent lack of concern or response, which makes her question her own judgment about the situation. Looking at the frightened girl she's come to help, she confirms her initial instinct, that the scene is indeed unacceptable and unjust. With a sudden smile filled with confidence and determination, she promises to protect the girl, an act that only fuels the delinquent's anger. Enraged by her defiance, one of them lunges forward, ready to make her regret interfering. The girl braces herself, her face set in a grim mask of resolve, prepared for whatever violence may come her way. Before the attacker can strike, a boy appears seemingly out of nowhere, effortlessly dodging the blow with practiced ease. In a swift, fluid motion, he grabs the delinquent's arm and employs a traditional martial arts throw, an Aikido technique that sends the delinquent flying through the air. The boy's calm, confident smile as he regains his stance only serves to intimidate the remaining attackers, who suddenly realize they are no match for his skill. The delinquent, conscious of his own vulnerability and the quickness of his defeat, hurriedly retreats with his companion, leaving the girl safe and uninjured. The scene ends with the boy standing calmly, subtly revealing that his impressive move was achieved with a simple yet effective martial arts technique, leaving the delinquents thoroughly intimidated and effectively deterred. The two girls, still shaken but grateful, exchange glances of relief as the danger dissipates, thankful for their unexpected guardian's swift and skillful intervention. He let out a long, deep sigh, a gust of relief coursing through him as he recognized that the immediate threat had finally passed. The tense adrenaline that had held his nerves taut just moments before slowly started to seep away, replaced by a sense of calm. Despite his usual composed exterior, trained through countless battles and hardened by years of experience, he could admit to himself that he had been incredibly nervous. After all, it had been quite some time since he last found himself caught in a fight, and the unfamiliar surge of anxiety was a stark reminder of how long it had been since he needed to rely on his martial arts skills for protection. His memories drifted back to a different chapter of his life, a time when he had dedicated himself to rigorous training across multiple styles of combat. The reason behind that relentless discipline was rooted deeply in his desire to shield his beloved celebrity sisters from ceaseless threats and dangers that seemed an unavoidable part of their fame. The countless hours spent perfecting his technique were fueled by a sense of duty and love, a protective instinct that had become second nature. Yet, as he now stood in this quiet moment of peace, he had to acknowledge painfully that those days of being their guardian belonged to the past. That phase of his life was over, left behind in the unfolding years of his turbulent journey. His thoughts were interrupted when his gaze fell upon the girl he had just managed to save. She was looking at him now, her eyes a mix of gratitude and perhaps a hint of awe, which immediately drew his attention. For the first time since their encounter, he managed to get a clear, unobstructed look at her face. Her delicate features, framed by her tousled hair, held a shy but genuine expression of thanks. She quietly murmured her appreciation for his timely intervention, and in that moment, their encounter felt as if it was marked by an unspoken significance, a turning point that would shape their fates moving forward. She was introduced to him as Himemegit Tsukio, a name that carried an air of mystery, matching her enigmatic presence. Her appearance was striking, a beauty that seemed almost otherworldly, yet her true occupation remained a secret, cloaked in ambiguity. The runner-up to her charm was her mysterious aura, a captivating allure that drew him in despite his best efforts to remain composed. It was entirely unexpected. In the chaos of the moment, he had been so focused on the fight that he had overlooked her breathtaking beauty. Now, as he looked at her more carefully, he realized that she was not just beautiful. Her presence seemed almost ethereal, like a celestial being descended to earth. This revelation utterly captivated him. His mind reeled, overwhelmed by how astonishingly cute she looked in her vulnerability. She shyly whispered her thanks again, her relief evident, nearly on the verge of tears. Her voice quivered with emotion as she insisted that he had saved her life, a plea that tugged at his heartstrings. To him, her words seemed a little dramatic, perhaps an overstatement born from her current fear and relief, but he listened patiently nonetheless. As he tried to process her words, he couldn't help but feel a surge of protective instinct and tenderness. Meanwhile, the other girl observed the scene quietly. She seemed to sense that Himemegit Tsukio's reaction stemmed from profound fear, realizing just how intense her distress must have been in that harrowing moment. Without hesitation, he instinctively reached out, gently patting her head, a gesture filled with warmth and comfort that he had once used on his own sisters during difficult times. The simplicity of this act, small but meaningful, caused her to blush deeply and become momentarily speechless, her heart pounding in her chest. The sight of her flustered reaction stirred a bittersweet memory within him, reminding him of the countless times he had offered similar comfort to his younger siblings in times of their own distress. Feeling the weight of his inadvertent overfamiliarity, he quickly realized his mistake. A wave of embarrassment washed over him as he hurriedly apologized for acting too familiarly with a stranger. His cheeks burned with shame at having forgotten the proper boundaries and etiquette. At that moment, the other girl gently pointed out that they had not yet even exchanged names, prompting a brief moment of awkward silence. The girl nervously introduced herself as Himemegit Tsukio, fidgeting under his gaze, clearly unsure of herself but eager to make a good impression. Her shy demeanor only heightened his fascination. He was entirely taken by her delicate features and captivating aura. In his mind, he couldn't help but gush internally over her, finding her name adorable even in its simplicity. The confusion on her face when he expressed his admiration only amused him further, deepening his infatuation. Her nervousness was palpable as she hesitantly shared her own name, her voice trembling slightly. He, in turn, awkwardly explained that he was newly outcast from the Yamagasaki family, a detail that he knew sounded strange but felt necessary to mention. He introduced himself as Sakasigawa Atsumu, words that carried the weight and sincerity of someone trying to forge a new path. However, his heartfelt attempt at self-introduction was abruptly interrupted by a conspicuous growl emanating from his stomach, an embarrassing reminder of his current state. He sheepishly admitted that he had been surviving on nothing more than nutrient jelly lately, a revelation that visibly unsettled the other girl. Her eyes widened in concern and horror at the idea, and her cheeks flushed with dirted sympathy. Deeply embarrassed, Himi shyly offered her help in return for his courage and kindness, her voice trembling with sincerity. She insisted tearfully that she wanted to pay him back for everything he had done to save her, her expression one of earnest gratitude. The intensity of her plea left him flustered and unsure of how to respond, caught off guard by her genuine concern and emotions. He couldn't help but reflect on the tragic turn his life had taken. On his 18th birthday, he had been banished from the household of his 7 renowned sisters, an event that had left him penniless and adrift in an uncertain world. Despite the hardship, the school's chairman, a compassionate and kind-hearted figure, had arranged for him to transfer to a new life, a fresh start far removed from his past. Instead of heading straight to his dormitory, he found himself sitting in a cozy, family-style restaurant, savoring a generous, lavish meal. The simple act of being able to enjoy such a moment brought tears to his eyes, a testament to how much small pleasures could mean after everything he had endured. Quietly, he wondered whether he truly deserved such a feast after everything he had been through. Hime, shy but earnest, explained that her presence there was her unique way of expressing gratitude. She wanted to thank him with the meal. She admitted that during the confrontation, though brave, she had been completely frozen with fear, trembling in her boots. Meanwhile, the other girl listened with understanding, her eyes soft and sympathetic. A sudden flashback flickered in his mind, reminding him that all of this had begun when he had courageously intervened to rescue her from a pair of aggressive delinquents, an act that set everything into motion. The other girl, perhaps trying to downplay her own heroism, insisted that she had only done what anyone else would have done in her position, which left him somewhat confused. As she ate her meal, her gaze kept drifting toward him, noticing the intense, flustered expression on his face, and she wondered if she had missed something important. Her reflections moved to his appearance, her eyes tracing his height, his fit figure, and the extraordinary aura he exuded. She found herself captivated by his presence, contemplating how a single person could be so strikingly different yet intriguing. She continued to watch him from across the table, her mind swirling with thoughts about this mysterious new acquaintance. Her curiosity was confirmed as nearby patrons started to whisper among themselves, drawn in by his remarkable beauty and the air of quiet strength surrounding him. Their murmurs hinted at speculations about his background and perhaps even his profession. The recognition of his striking appearance made the girl realize how much attention he was garnering, explaining why everyone in the restaurant seemed so fascinated by him. In her own mind, she concluded that Himemegit Tsukio was undoubtedly an extraordinary and mesmerizing individual, a true beauty that left a lasting impression on everyone around her. Their meal was suddenly interrupted when a waitress arrived, presenting Himemegit Tsukio with a large, limited-edition strawberry parfait. Its size and elaborate presentation surprised the other girl, who watched with wide eyes. As she saw her, Himemegit Tsukio's face lit up with pure delight, her eyes sparkling brightly. Without hesitation, she hurriedly pulled out her camera and snapped a photo of the adorable, enchanting dessert, wanting to capture the moment forever. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and the other girl couldn't help but smile at her genuine girlish excitement. It was such a charming display, her innocent joy contrasting so vividly with her mysterious aura. Suddenly, her attention shifted to the neighboring table where quiet whispers filled the air. The other patrons, caught up in the scene, seemed captivated by the stark contrast between Himemegit Tsukio's mature, elegant appearance and her adorable choice of dessert. Embarrassment crept onto her face as she blushed, nervously asking whether it was strange for her to enjoy such cute things given her otherwise sophisticated look. The other girl reached out to reassure her, but her mood abruptly shifted. Her bright, glorious expression faded, replaced by a deep blush and a hint of shame. Hime hesitated, then shyly admitted that she sometimes felt embarrassed to like cute things because she was perceived as someone mature and elegant. She worried that her fondness for adorable objects somehow clashed with her serious appearance. As her words trailed off, Atsumu suddenly spoke up, his voice warm and reassuring. He told her he thought it was a wonderful quality, that her love of cute things only made her more charming and genuine. His words caught her off guard but also soothed her nerves. He emphasized that there was absolutely nothing to be ashamed of, affirming that a beautiful girl who also appreciated cute things was, in his honest opinion, the perfect, unbeatable combination. His sincerity left her utterly stunned. Her cheeks reddened as she blushed deeper, and she whispered her thanks for his kind and supportive words. Their exchange seemed to deepen the warmth between them, creating an unspoken bond. Inspired by his genuine attitude, the other girl, feeling a surge of her own affection, tearfully admitted her own deep love for cute things. She turned her attention to him, surprisingly complimenting his voice. A voice, she said, reminded her of a very popular virtual YouTuber she greatly admired. Her unexpected comparison left him momentarily speechless, his face flushing as she giggled nervously, trying to lighten the mood with her playful remark. He internally fretted over his social skills, unsure how to respond to her heartfelt, somewhat shy words. Meanwhile, she awkwardly excused herself to get a drink, leaving him to sit in a moment of quiet doubt. The humor of her comment about being nearly arrested at a family restaurant was not lost on her, and she looked puzzled when he insisted he wasn't joking. Atsumu, trying to make light of the situation, claimed that his sense of fear in that moment was totally genuine, and that he genuinely thought he had been in real danger, a statement that only made her more surprised. Her face suddenly darkened with a look of genuine concern and worry as she leaned forward, her eyes studying him intently. Her voice, trembling slightly, escaped in a hesitant whisper as she asked the question that seemed to weigh heavily on her heart. Could it really be true that he no longer had a family? The moment her words left her lips, Atsumu flinched visibly, as if he'd been struck by a sudden surprise. The realization struck him like a bolt of lightning, and he became painfully aware of how personal and delicate that piece of information had just slipped out, almost casually. His eyes widened as panic washed over him, a sudden wave of regret and unease flooding his mind. Without thinking, he immediately threw up an apologetic hand, stammering his remorse for having shared too much at once, an oversharing that perhaps he couldn't take back now. Meanwhile, Hime, sensing his distress, reached out with calm, gentle words, trying to soothe him and anchor him to the present. Her concern deepened as she, with soft honesty, admitted that ever since he had mentioned the nutrient jelly, she had been increasingly worried about his well-being. Her genuine kindness was clear in her voice, in her gaze, and perhaps most profoundly in the way she wanted to ensure he was okay. Overwhelmed by this unexpected display of kindness and concern, Atsumu felt himself blush intensely, his cheeks burning with embarrassment, rendering him almost speechless. All he could do was quietly nod and confirm, no matter how much it pained him, that her suspicions about his family life were indeed accurate and true. After a brief silence that stretched between them, punctuated only by the quiet sounds of their surroundings, Atsumu hesitantly offered to share the entire story, the long, painful history that had shaped his current circumstances. If she was willing to listen, that is. And so, trembling slightly, he chose to confide in her, opening his heart to recount the sorrowful, heartbreaking tale of his previous family. He narrated, in detail, his experiences of betrayal, abandonment, and the broken trust inflicted upon him by those who were supposed to care. His voice quivered as he recounted the moments of disappointment and the crushing realization that he had been forsaken by the very people who once claimed to love him. This tragic story unfolded with raw emotion, and as he finished, tears welled up uncontrollably in his eyes, threatening to spill over. Watching him, she quietly admitted that she truly regretted making him relive such pain, regretted forcing him to revisit those dark memories. Atsumu, in turn, watched her tear up, feeling an overwhelming wave of guilt wash over him. Guilt that his own story might have caused her distress. He scolded himself silently, berating his conscience for what he saw as an unforgivable act, that of making someone else cry because of his pain. Struggling to regain composure, he saw her tear-streaked face. Her eyes, however, shimmered with deep empathy and genuine understanding, revealing just how much she grasped his suffering. Despite his attempt to downplay the tragedy with a sad, almost resigned smile, he couldn't hide the pain behind his words, claiming he was useless, that he had no worth. His self-deprecating remark caught her off guard, prompting her immediate response, her voice firm, filled with certainty, telling him that he was wrong. She reached for a napkin, her hand trembling slightly, but her resolve hardened as she rejected his negative perception of himself. With fierce conviction, Hime refused to let him believe he was useless or insignificant. Blushing again, she gently reminded him of his own heroism, asserting that he was the one who had saved her in that critical moment. The unexpected intensity in her voice and expression surprised Atsumu, making him momentarily speechless. She thought back to that confrontation, vividly recalling his courageous and decisive action that had turned everything around. Shyly, she fidgeted with her hair, struggling to find words enough to convey her overwhelming gratitude. With tears shimmering in her eyes, she declared that during that pivotal moment, he was truly her hero, a source of strength and hope. The other girl was visibly flustered, realizing the profound depth of what had transpired between them. A wave of emotion washed over her, and suddenly she found herself moved to tears, grateful for having witnessed such an honest, heartfelt exchange. Later, outside the restaurant as they prepared to part ways, Himeji shyly turned to him and expressed her thanks. Her cheeks radiated a gentle, blushing hue, and with a bright, smiling face, she waved goodbye, quietly hoping that their paths would cross again someday. He responded with a soft, welcoming smile of his own, agreeing in kind, and as the scene gently faded, it was confirmed that they had gone their separate ways. The scene drew back to reveal the vast, bustling city, the sprawling metropolis where his new life was only just beginning. As he walked on through the crowded streets, he found himself lost in thought, reflecting on the chaos of the day and pondering what the future at his new school might hold. His mind drifted to Hime once more, quietly wondering whether her adorable voice was a hint that she, too, was somehow involved in the entertainment industry. Meanwhile, Himeji found herself lost in her own thoughts, a faint blush lingering on her cheeks. As her mind replayed the moments they shared, she resolved that if their paths crossed again, she would surely ask her about that intriguing detail. The scene then shifted to a bright, lively streaming setup, and the narrator revealed that this day marked the day she had first met him. Her everyday youth was spent in front of her computer screen, her fingers tirelessly typing away as her device came to life around her. She prepared an announcement for her upcoming online stream, a regular routine she believed went largely unnoticed by the world beyond her small circle. A revelation was about to be made, and her secret was soon to be exposed. It turned out that she was none other than Japan's most popular VTuber, Kaguya Hashizuki, with over 1 million subscribers tuning in to her channel. She greeted her loyal fans with her signature warmth, her voice affectionately teasing them as the game streaming princess. As she set everything up to begin her gameplay, she took a moment to reflect on the extraordinary event that had unfolded that very day, something she considered a blessing. With bright enthusiasm, she announced to her viewers that it was now time for the main event, the start of her gaming session. Playfully, she teased them, hinting that she might reveal the secret of her wonderful day. And as the game loaded up, it became clear that her true identity was Japan's top-tier VTuber, an idol adored across the country and beyond, eagerly diving into her streaming session. Meanwhile, alone and surrounded by his own thoughts, Atsumu sat quietly, his mind still haunted by memories of the family that had exiled him. In his imagination, he replayed their cruel celebration after kicking him out, wonders about how they truly felt during those moments of victory and superiority. He recognized the futility of dwelling on such thoughts, yet the pain persisted, gnawing at him with relentless persistence. His deepest doubt was whether any of them had ever felt even a flicker of remorse or sadness over his absence. The scene then cut to the sprawling mansion of the Amagasaki family, where life continued unaffected by his departure. Inside, the youngest sisters were recounting their cruelly amused observations. One sister giggled, recalling the look on his face, an expression of despair she found irresistibly hilarious. Another chimed in, adding her own chuckle to the mix. Their casual, teasing conversations stood in stark contrast to the ongoing pain that still lingered inside him. The fifth sister, Mitsuki, an idol with a fiery temper, vividly remembered his final desperate expression and found it highly amusing. Futaba, the second sister, laughed loudly, her amusement more intense than any television comedy. Shiki, the fourth sister, lamented that she hadn't recorded his breakdown for her personal amusement, cackling over her missed opportunity. The sisters reveled in their shared mockery, delighting in how genuinely he had suffered. They praised Shiki for her cruel genius, fantasizing about how his humiliation might have gone viral on social media. Their glee was unrestrained, and the scene filled with bursts of laughter. A more composed voice then cut through their laughter, an older sister, suggesting that perhaps his absence was, in fact, for the best. Her tone was calmer but firm, bringing an abrupt pause to the merriment. The other sisters looked at her with a mixture of confusion and curiosity, uncertain about this sudden shift. Mika, the third sister and a polished model, smirked and explained that without him, the atmosphere felt somehow clearer, lighter, almost as if the air itself had been purified. Her sisters burst into laughter once more, cracking jokes that his presence was like an unwanted pollutant. Mika then began listing her complaints, starting with his relentless enforcement of her diet restrictions. She dramatically described how she despised his strict rules, especially his ban on spicy foods. Gleefully, she imagined herself adding the spiciest noodle she could find to her online shopping cart, savoring the rebellious thrill. Mitsuki, still fuming at the memory, was overheard grumbling about his detailed approval process over her selfies, an overly scrutinizing eye that she'd often found oppressive. To emphasize her point, she defiantly posted a wild, unfiltered photo, declaring her own judgment of her looks. Her sisters, sharing her annoyance, nodded in agreement, fully understanding her frustration. Futaba revealed that she had been banned from social media entirely due to his strict restrictions, a rule she now gleefully chose to break whenever she could. The remaining sisters, silent until now, were then prompted to voice their own grievances, and each in turn shared their personal complaints, ranging from minor annoyances to outright frustrations, highlighting how their brother's strict control, teasing nature, or absent presence had shaped their daily lives in various ways. The story opens with a poignant and cold recounting from the eldest daughter, Io, who describes in solemn detail how an older man, perhaps a figure of authority or family, forced her to turn away from the most promising and prestigious acting roles that could have launched her into international stardom. Her tone is distant, almost detached, as she relays how her future in the world of cinema and theater was systematically thwarted by his meddling, leaving her with a sense of injustice and unfulfilled potential. This revelation sets the tone for a family rife with tension, where ambitions are stifled and victims are often silent but deeply affected. Meanwhile, another sister, a spirited and playful character, urges her quieter sibling Nana, who remains silent and seemingly withdrawn in the background, to join in on the teasing. She jestingly urges Nana to contribute her voice to a discussion about a local industrial or infrastructure project, referred to in the story as the pylon. Her tone is lighthearted and teasing, eager to draw her sister out and prove her own wit. The scene captures the sisters' camaraderie, yet underpins a sense of underlying frustration and unspoken grievances about their shared circumstances. The sisters are rallying behind Io, expressing their collective outrage and anger, especially because they blame this man for having robbed Io of what could have been a flourishing Hollywood career. The precious, hard-earned potential that might have elevated her to international fame was unfairly taken away, and their fury is palpable. Nana, who has been mostly silent as a singer, finally finds her voice in a moment of emotional release. She introduces a cryptic loyalty to a mysterious individual named Five, revealing that her allegiance lies solely with this music producer, whose identity and motives remain cloaked in secrecy. Nana's declaration hints at a deeper connection or a past involving this enigmatic figure, suggesting that her personal motivations transcend family ties or fame. She then reminisces about a recent chart-topping song produced by Five, marveling at how someone managed to craft a melody that perfectly captured her unique voice. This moment of reflection highlights her admiration for the producer's genius and hints at an underlying sense of dependency or gratitude that shapes her current outlook. Lost in her own world of emotion and musical reverie, Nana declares that singing 5 songs, just 5, represents her entire reason for living. This statement underscores the profound significance music holds for her, serving as both a lifeline and a passion that sustains her amid the chaos surrounding her. Her words reveal a sense of simplicity and purity in her artistic devotion, emphasizing that for her, these 5 songs are not mere performances but the fundamental meaning of her existence. The youngest sister, Yakyu, a vibrant and expressive VTuber, is the final member of the group to be prompted to share her thoughts. Her face forms a pout, and her cheeks puff out with visible annoyance as she clutches tightly to her beloved teddy bear. In a burst of fiery emotion, she declares in no uncertain terms that she never, under any circumstances, wishes to see a certain man again. Her language was venomous, her words sharp. Even her older sisters are taken aback by her unexpected ferocity, revealing the depth of her dislike for this figure. Her outburst is a stark contrast to her typically cute and playful persona, exposing a hidden layer of vulnerability and intense emotion. Observing this harmonious yet tense family scene, the matriarch, Amina, smiles with a cunning sense of satisfaction. Her expression suggests she has orchestrated this gathering, uniting her daughters against a common adversary. Her strategic manipulations have achieved their purpose. By fostering their shared hatred, she has solidified her control and power over the family dynamics. With a triumphant yet calm demeanor, Amina declares that the obstacle that once hindered their rise, presumably some external barrier or individual, has now been removed. She emphasizes that her daughter's talents had been kept suppressed and undervalued for far too long, hinting at her role in their ongoing struggle for recognition. Sensing her moment of victory, Amina grants her daughters permission, formal and resolute, to finally unleash their full potential upon the world. Her words are a clear command for them to shed their doubts, restrictions, and fears, and to move forward with renewed confidence in their capabilities. This decision marks a turning point, a reassurance that they now have her backing to pursue their ambitions without hesitation or restraint. The scene then transitions, shifting focus from their family triumph to a towering, modern corporate building nestled in the heart of Tokyo's bustling skyline. The atmosphere here teems with urgency and administrative power, starkly contrasting the intimate family scene. Inside the building, the president's secretary, Kamiyuki, races into the president's office in a state of agitation, bursting through the doors with a sense of urgency. She demands to know why she was kept in the dark regarding a recent personnel decision, specifically, the firing of Atsumu. Her voice is sharp, betraying her concern and frustration at what she perceives as a grave oversight. The president's mother, Amina, conveys her response with icy calmness. She dismisses Yuki's fears with a cool, dismissive tone, asserting that there was no need to bother her with such a seemingly trivial matter. She considers personnel disputes within the company as minor issues, small blips on the radar of her grander plans. The secretary, increasingly frantic, argues that managing the company's 7 sisters alone is an impossible task, especially since Atsumu had been the backbone of nearly all operations. She claims that without his experience and expertise, the entire operation risks falling apart. With a smug, almost dismissive smile, Amina reveals that she has already arranged for a replacement, one that she considers more suitable. Her words are laced with a quiet confidence, suggesting she has everything under control and has anticipated any complications. As if to underscore her point, the office door swings open at that very moment, revealing a cheerful and somewhat naive young girl standing in the doorway, introducing herself confidently as Harima Rima, and in turn hailing from Yumikoshi Academy's support department. Yuki's face masks her shock at this unexpected development. She stares, wide-eyed, questioning why such an inexperienced and young intern has been assigned to take over a role of critical importance. The scene grows tense as Amina gently places her hand on the intern's shoulder, a gesture that exudes unsettling confidence, as if staking her authority with supreme certainty and control. Yuki's disbelief deepens. She recognizes that the girl is just a student, far from the seasoned professional that Atsumu was. In her panic, Yuki protests that a mere student cannot possibly handle the immense responsibilities that Atsumu did, emphasizing that experience and skill are crucial in these high-stakes situations. Amina, with a cold smirk, downplays her fears, implying that if someone with minimal experience failed at the task, then a highly capable student should face no problems. Her words cast a shadow of dread over Yuki, who begins to realize that they are walking on dangerous ground. The tension culminates as Amina poses a question that hangs heavily in the room. She seems to challenge the very notion of failure, hinting that if a less qualified person can do the job, then it should be within the realm of possibility for her untested intern too. Yuki, recalling Atsumu's reassuring smile and his consistent promise to handle everything on his own, feels a wave of impending doom. She is overwhelmed by the stark realization that without him, the entire operation might be headed toward collapse. Her mind drifts to Atsumu himself, the only individual she believes possesses the experience and resolve necessary to stabilize the situation. A slow, creeping realization dawns on her. Their organization, their fragile empire, depended heavily on his skill, and losing him might mean disaster. Her heart pounds as she admits to herself just how much they relied on his unwavering competence and steady leadership. The scene then shifts dramatically to Atsumu's new school, where he is greeted by the sight of Hime standing in the doorway of his classroom. Her presence immediately suggests she is an important figure, an intriguing, mysterious girl who has clearly captured the attention of the students. A classmate, who happens to be nearby, approaches and comments on Hime's enchanting appearance, expressing admiration for her cuteness. With friendly curiosity, the classmate notes how Hime is famous among students and that everyone talks about her, but no one seems able to approach her. Atsumu, feeling shy and somewhat nervous, admits that he would love to speak with her at least once, but he confesses that the reality is very different. Despite her striking looks, Hime remains entirely unapproachable. She consistently ignores anyone who attempts to make contact. Her icy demeanor and aloof attitude have earned her the nickname, the Ice Queen, among the students, a title that emphasizes her untouchability and mystique. The classmate warns Atsumu that pursuing her is likely a futile endeavor, an impossible fantasy that's better left untouched. The following morning, Atsumu awakens unexpectedly early, just a few minutes past 4 o'clock. His body still conditioned by the demanding routine of his previous life. Yawning, he realizes his scheduling still echoes past hardships, but he is determined to forge a new path. He begins his morning with a light jog, reintroducing himself as Sakasagawa Atsumu, the high schooler who was expelled on his birthday, marking the end of his former life and the beginning of this new chapter. Despite his resolve to move forward, exhaustion clouds his mind. The early start leaves him drained but also motivated. He now resides in the dormitories of his new school, a kind arrangement made by the former chairman of his previous empire, who, despite all, showed kindness in securing his new environment. As he jogs through the empty streets, he reflects on his past, recalling the hectic days managing his 7 famous sisters and their influential mother, Amina. A saga filled with exhaustion, sleepless nights, and relentless pressure. A vivid flashback paints a picture of his former self, a young man exhausted beyond measure, barely sleeping while supporting and managing the careers of his talented siblings and their formidable mother. These memories are tinged with fatigue and sacrifice, highlighting how much he endured in his past life, an endless struggle to keep everything afloat. Now, in his quiet new dorm room, he gets up early in the morning to cook breakfast, a simple but meaningful act. He tastes his own carefully prepared meal with pride, a small but significant victory that symbolizes his attempt to rebuild and find joy in a simpler life. Eating alone in the stillness of dawn, Atsumu reflects on his current existence, feeling a deep longing for his old life, particularly his phone, which he used to watch streams and stay connected. His heart skips at the thought of the online world he's temporarily cut off from. Suddenly, a memory surfaces, the voice of Hime from the previous day. Her voice felt so familiar, so soothing, that it lingered in his mind. He savors the calmness of this slow-paced morning, hopeful that his new school life might finally bring him some happiness and a sense of normalcy he has long been deprived of. Later in his first class, the teacher announces the arrival of a transfer student, someone new and intriguing. The students' whispers immediately circle the room in curiosity and speculation. As the teacher turns, a bright smile adorns his face, and he introduces himself confidently as Sakasagawa Atsumu, the very same name he's now using openly. The room erupts into chatter and conjecture, with students whispering about how adorable this newcomer must be, especially since he has a high-pitched voice that makes him stand out. Atsumu, unused to being at the center of attention, begins to blush and feel acutely nervous, his heart pounding in his chest. His cheeks heat, and his hands tighten around his bag as he experiences a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Amidst the murmurs, one of the more intimidating delinquents, a student known for their rough demeanor, scoffs dismissively. They clearly express their disapproval of this new arrival, showing a lack of respect and hinting that Atsumo's presence might bring trouble. The story reveals that Atsumo's transfer to this seemingly ordinary high school is anything but casual. It is a carefully kept secret, an effort to shield him from the dangers of his previous life and the enemies he might have accumulated. Despite the confident facade he presents now, he is secretly hopeful for a fresh start, eager to explore this new environment and find a way to thrive anew. His eyes flicker with determination as he takes his first hesitant steps into his new classroom, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead in this unfamiliar, yet strangely promising, chapter of his life. In summary, this narrative weaves a rich tapestry of family betrayal, artistic passion, corporate intrigue, and youthful renewal. Every scene is designed to delve deeper into the characters' feelings and motivations, showing how each has been shaped by their past and what they now seek in their future. From the despairs of a stifled potential to the hopes of a fresh beginning, the story explores the complex human emotions intertwined with ambition, loyalty, and the longing for freedom. Kongu absent-mindedly cracked his knuckles, his expression darkening as he glared at Atsumo, accusing him of having mocked him in some way. The moment the younger boy opened his mouth to apologize, seemingly caught somewhere between guilt and confusion, the elder delinquent's piercing eyes intensified, silencing him instantly. The teacher, who had been attempting to intervene, clearly overwhelmed and unsure of how to diffuse the sudden tension, mustered a feeble step forward, subtly trying to calm the situation. Yet, Kongu's intimidating stare rendered these efforts useless. The teacher quickly retreated, nervously pleading with Kongu to return to his seat before things spiraled further out of control. At that moment, amidst the tense atmosphere, Atsumu unexpectedly experienced a moment of mental clarity, a flicker of cheerful ingenuity suddenly sparking in his mind. With a newfound confidence, he addressed the confrontational delinquent, asking him in a steady tone whether his anger might be somehow linked to his pants. Kongu's eyes widened in shock as his gaze instinctively dropped to his legs. To his astonishment, he saw that his once torn pants, which he thought had been permanently damaged and left him feeling exposed, had appeared to be smoothed and repaired as if by some magic. What was even more startling was the sight of adorable patches of fabric sewn onto the torn parts, images of a tiger, a bee, and a bear, all stitched in bright, playful colors that contrasted with his tough, rebellious exterior. Atsumu, clearly proud of himself, revealed that he possessed a hidden talent for sewing and fabric repair, confidently brandishing a small sewing kit with a grin that radiated self-assurance. He explained that he had stealthily patched the delinquent's jeans as he simply walked past him, a skill honed over years of practicing in secret, and now proudly displayed for everyone to see. The delinquent stared blankly, speechless, unable to comprehend the surprising turn of events, while Atsumu hurriedly wondered whether his choice of cute animal patches might have been an odd decision, questioning silently if perhaps the adorable design elements didn't quite fit Kongu's intimidating image. From Kongu's perspective, however, the situation appeared utterly bizarre. He observed Atsumu's bright, sparkling eyes as the boy innocently asked if perhaps an elephant patch might have been more suitable, adding a teasing tone that was hard to interpret. The pounding of Kongu's heart grew louder as he struggled internally to process the strange, yet oddly charming interaction, his mind swirling with disbelief. An illustration or diagram might help clarify his thoughts. Atsumu's genuine intentions seemed innocent enough, yet they were being perceived, by Kongu and perhaps others, as a deliberate act of mockery or spite. The delinquent, overwhelmed and rattled, accused the newcomer of intentionally trying to make fun of him. Atsumu, with a clueless smile spread across his face, insisted that he simply saw the torn pants and thought he was doing a good deed by repairing them, not realizing the full impact of his actions. Finally, Kongu's patience snapped, and he burst out loudly, emphasizing that the rips were actually a fashion statement. a carefully chosen distressed look meant to project a certain image. Despite his angry assertion, his cheeks flushed a deep shade of red, betraying his embarrassment and exposing the vulnerability beneath his tough facade. The class, understanding or perhaps realizing the true nature of the situation for the first time, erupted into quiet laughter, recognizing that the school's most notorious delinquent had been completely flustered and thrown off guard. The angry, humiliated Kongu stormed off in a huff, vowing that Atsumu would regret provoking him this way. Watching the intimidating figure retreat back to his seat, Atsumu felt a wave of relief wash over him, a sense of having narrowly escaped an immediate crisis. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, thankful that he had managed to endure his first confrontation in the classroom unscathed. With the tension resolved, Atsumu turned his attention toward locating his assigned seat. His eyes lit up with anticipation as they landed on the desk, but his joy intensified when he saw who was seated beside him. It was someone he had just met, the girl he was eager to get to know better. His face broke into a bright, welcoming smile, and he couldn't contain his happiness upon realizing he had been placed next to Himeji. She, in turn, blushed deeply and shyly looked away, politely asking him to take care of her now that they were classmates. His cheerful response was a promise to be a good and supportive friend. As he settled into his seat beside her, a sense of excitement and hope blossomed within him, marking the beginning of what he hoped would be a wonderful new chapter in his school life. Meanwhile, in the back of the classroom, the sight of the delinquent sitting fuming in his seat added a layer of tension. But Atsumu's joyful demeanor and Himeji's pounding heart silently signaled that they were about to start their journey together. In an attempt to appear casual, Atsumu twirled his pen in his fingers, pretending to be relaxed. However, his nerves betrayed him. The pen slipped from his grasp and clattered to the floor with a loud noise that drew everyone's attention. His face froze in horror, realizing the clumsy mistake he had just made in front of everyone. Whispers immediately rippled through the classroom, filled with shock and curiosity. Stunned that the usually silent girl, Himeji, had spoken aloud for the very first time. Her voice, soft and gentle, surprised everyone, including herself, and the quiet atmosphere suddenly felt charged with astonishment. Himeji's face turned even redder at the unexpected attention, her eyes shifting nervously as she wondered if by speaking she had somehow offended or upset him. The whole class was captivated, an unprecedented event in their school's history, witnessing the legendary Ice Queen break her silence and voice her thoughts. The whispers grew louder, with students muttering in disbelief that the apparently unapproachable girl had finally spoken. Many couldn't hide their amazement. This rare glimpse into her personality was nothing short of extraordinary. Atsumu, piecing it all together now, realized that the girl sitting beside him, so radiant and shy, was none other than the beloved and mysterious school Ice Queen, a girl renowned for her calm, distant demeanor that seemingly kept her isolated from the others. The scene then shifted to a starkly different place, the studio of the VTuber Kaguya Hashizuki, who was frantically tapping away at her keyboard, deeply immersed in playing a game, her virtual avatar animatedly moving on the screen. This sharp contrast to her usual quiet, composed school persona portrayed her as lively, energetic, and perhaps a bit overwhelmed by her online activities. Atsumu sighed with a wistful note, reminiscing about the days when he used to enjoy watching Kaguya's streams, her energetic, playful personality providing a welcome escape from the hardships he faced, especially during his childhood when he still lived with his sisters. Those streams, filled with lively chatter and cheerful antics, had once been his refuge from their constant teasing and conflicts. He remembered how watching Kaguya's videos had been his only solace at the time, a way to momentarily forget about his troubled reality. As the stream drew to a close, Kaguya's virtual avatar gave a final flustered thanks to her fans, her voice trembling slightly with each word. Yet, as the pressure of her streaming work grew heavier, she found herself unable to continue, and gradually, this small comfort, her connection to her fans, faded away. With less time and energy to devote to her virtual persona, she had lost the simple joy of sharing her streams. The story then flashes back to the tragic event of Atsumu's expulsion from the Amagasaki family on his 18th birthday, an event that marked a turning point in his life. Leaving behind his previous life filled with hardship and restrictions, he arrived at his new high school, hope renewed and heart eager for a fresh start. Very miraculously, on his very first day, he crossed paths with someone extraordinary, the shy, beautiful girl named Hime Tsukio, who would soon become an important part of his life. By a stroke of fate, they were reunited on this very first day, and Atsumu was overwhelmed with happiness to find himself sitting beside her again. However, shortly after, a new problem manifested. Everyone in the classroom was staring at him with a mixture of shock, curiosity, and perhaps even some suspicion, making it nearly impossible for him to concentrate on his lessons. He couldn't understand why they called Hime the Ice Queen, or why her gentle nature seemed so at odds with her cold reputation. He began to worry that his presence might be causing complications or disturbances for her, and he questioned whether transferring to this school was truly a good idea. These thoughts drifted through his mind as he struggled to comprehend the strange situation unfolding before him. Despite the confusion, he recalled her kindness, her quiet empathy, and the way she always seemed to genuinely care, which conflicted with her reputation for aloofness. His gaze then shifted to her school bag, adorned with numerous cute keychains, which piqued his curiosity. One particular keychain, a fluffy, adorable rabbit, caught his eye and suddenly sparked a vivid recollection. He hesitated, planning to ask her about this familiar charm, but froze in place, realizing the entire classroom was watching their interaction with wide, incredulous eyes. Deciding that such a delicate conversation needed privacy, he quickly concluded that it was best to wait and speak with her another time. As the school bell chimed on the rooftop, signaling the start of a new lesson, Atsumu gratefully took the opportunity to thank Hime for leading him to this quiet spot where they could finally talk without prying eyes. Shyly, Hime explained that the rooftop was her sanctuary, a special place where she could escape and be alone whenever she needed a moment of peace and solitude. Their quiet exchange marked the beginning of what would undoubtedly be an eventful and meaningful chapter in both their lives, filled with understanding, friendship, and the unanticipated complexities that come with new beginnings. He felt an immense sense of relief knowing that they had found a secluded, private spot where they could speak without the fear of being overheard or interrupted, a peaceful haven on the bustling school grounds. As she unpacked her adorable, homemade lunch with careful care, each item lovingly assembled, he appreciated this quiet moment of genuine connection. Deciding to take advantage of their solitude, the two of them agreed to spend their lunch break together atop the silent, sun-warmed rooftop of the school building, a place that offered a tranquil view away from the noisy corridors and crowded classrooms below. In that peaceful silence, with only the gentle breeze as their background music, Atsumu finally gathered the courage to bring up a topic that had long intrigued him: the origin of her intimidating nickname, the so-called Ice Queen. As he asked her about it, a deep pink hue rapidly spread across her cheeks, betraying her embarrassment. She hesitated for a moment before quietly admitting that the story behind her nickname was not quite as glamorous as one might assume, but rather rooted in something quite awkward and somewhat embarrassing. She slowly began to explain that her icy reputation actually stemmed from her overwhelming shyness and social aversion, traits that made her appear distant or aloof to her classmates. Her difficulty in finding the right words during conversations often caused her to come across as cold, aloof, or dismissive, traits that inadvertently pushed others away. Over time, these misunderstandings grew into a series of wild rumors circulated among her peers, one of which painted her as a noble lady who looked down upon everyone beneath her, reinforcing her moniker as the ice-cold queen of the school. Atsumu listened intently, slowly piecing together the puzzle as he realized that this formidable reputation was, in fact, nothing more than a tragic misunderstanding. Her genuine, tender emotions, hidden beneath layers of perceived aloofness, clawed their way to the surface as she tearfully confided that she felt too ashamed to reveal the simple truth about her shyness to anyone at all. Seeing her raw vulnerability, he recognized how much her reputation as the Ice Queen truly bothered her, gnawing at her self-esteem and adding to her feelings of isolation. It was plain to him that beneath her icy exterior was a kind and sensitive soul longing to be understood. To lift her spirits and perhaps to give her a glimmer of hope, Atsumu suggested something bold. That they could make this rooftop lunch a daily routine, a special time just for the two of them to talk and share. The idea surprised her at first, but her initial astonishment quickly melted into a shy, grateful smile. Taking the initiative, he then jokingly appointed himself as her personal conversation coach, someone who would help her practice speaking more confidently and comfortably around others. She hesitated only for a moment before nervously nodding in agreement, her brave but trembling acceptance signaling her willingness to change. Atsumu, determined to find the perfect approach to help her break free from her social shell, pondered deeply, trying to think of a method that might work best for someone as shy as her. As he chewed thoughtfully on a piece of his lunch, he knew that simply sharing a meal every day wouldn't be enough. Real effort was needed to help her overcome her insecurities. Without warning, he casually brought up the small but meaningful keychain she wore, a detail that struck him as strikingly contrasting with her usual shy demeanor. He pointed out how her quiet, introverted nature in real life seemed worlds apart from her lively, talkative online persona. Realizing that perhaps he had said too much, he attempted to backpedal, trying to dismiss his remark, but before he could, Himeji, whose eyes widened with surprise, let out an audible gasp, a clear sign he had struck a nerve. Her reaction caught him off guard, and a hopeful glimmer lit up his eyes as he wondered if his seemingly impossible theory might actually hold some truth. Her panicked expression, wide-eyed and trembling, confirmed her shock at being discovered, and her lips formed a silent, worried no. He connected the dots quickly. The shy girl before him was not just any regular classmate, but was actually the famous virtual VTuber, Kagaya Hashuki. Overwhelmed with emotion, tears welled up in her eyes as her voice trembled softly. She nodded slowly, confirming his startling deduction, and her entire body language exuded a mix of embarrassment and relief. Her shoulders hunched in a shy little slump, and she shyly picked at her lunch, now acutely aware that her secret identity as the online star was no longer hidden. Atsumu, in turn, felt a mixture of awe and admiration, realizing that he had uncovered something deeply personal about her, the hidden truth behind her online persona. He admitted, with a sheepish smile, that he had only been half certain at first but was now completely convinced. Curious, he asked how she thought she might have given herself away, wondering if perhaps some subtle clue from their first encounter had betrayed her. She listed several signs. Their similar voices, her shared fascination with all things cute, and how she'd inadvertently let her guard down around him, something she normally never did with anyone. But the real breakthrough came when Atsumu described the specific item he had noticed on her school bag, an unusual, handmade keychain that immediately caught his eye. He excitedly pointed out how the keychain was a handmade rabbit charm, a signature mascot linked with Kagaya Hashuki's online streams, which was a subtle but telling detail. He cheerfully explained that the charm wasn't an official item purchased from merchandise but was, in fact, something she had crafted herself. Evidence she had secretly revealed her true self to him through that small, meaningful token. His enthusiasm was contagious, and her face flushed even more as she realized how intimately he had identified her true identity. He was overjoyed, and with genuine pride, he revealed that the keychain was part of an original character he had created. A hero called V, an avatar that represented his personal artistic side. She was momentarily stunned, recognizing that this V was her longtime online friend known as Vizen, though he corrected her with a friendly smile, mentioning that the correct pronunciation was 5. The realization that they shared not just a secret, but also creative passions made her feel a strange mixture of admiration and happiness. Clutching her lunch nervously, she admitted that she had never imagined such a deep connection could exist with someone she'd only just met, especially someone she initially considered a classroom acquaintance. But secretly, she felt a warm wave of happiness, grateful that this bond was with him. A gentle, genuine smile spread across her face, reflecting her relief and a newfound sense of belonging. Her soft, sincere expression caught him completely off guard, causing his heart to thump unexpectedly inside his chest. Attempting to regain his composure, Atsumu quickly shifted the conversation back to her main goal, overcoming her shyness and becoming more confident when speaking in front of others. He asked her why she could easily communicate through her streams while in her everyday life she remained so reserved. Himeji shyly confided that when she was streaming, it sometimes felt as if she was stepping outside herself, like she was pretending to be someone else entirely. She admitted that her insecurities about her tall, mature appearance made it difficult to feel comfortable in her own skin, even though Atsumu saw her features as strikingly beautiful and cool, a perfect balance of elegance and strength. He listened empathetically, understanding her feelings but sensing that there was so much more beneath her insecurities. She told him that her VTuber persona, Kagaya, represented the ideal version of herself, a self-confident, charming, and perfect personality she longed to embody. With that fresh understanding, Atsumu's face lit up with renewed determination. Looking at her with a mixture of friendliness and resolve, he confidently promised that he knew exactly how to help her become the person she truly wanted to be. Giving her a playful wink, he declared his grand plan was to assist her in transforming into the cute, charismatic version of herself that she admired so much. Hime was left utterly speechless by his enthusiastic and bold proposal, her mind racing to process his words. The story of their encounter, from his initial banishment from the school to their sudden reunion on that rooftop during their first day, flashed vividly in his mind. During their quiet lunch, he had uncovered her struggles and devised a daring yet heartfelt solution. Now, his vow to help her become as adorable and confident as her ideal self seemed as clear as day, filling her with a mixture of shock and hope. Later, after the school day ended, Atsumu marveled at a massive facility conveniently located just beside their school, a sprawling mall that promised new adventures. Inside this enormous shopping complex, he expressed his gratitude for guiding him as she shared details about the various stores and options available within its vast halls. For Atsumu, this was a turning point, the first time he could say that he was actually hanging out with a friend after school. Hime blushed at the word friend, her cheeks warming with a mixture of surprise and shy embarrassment at the new label for their relationship. He confidently led the way into the mall while she quietly followed, still a little flustered but eager to see what lay ahead. As the scene panned across the impressive modern design of the shopping center, it highlighted just how different their world was from the quiet, reserved girl she usually appeared to be. Their first destination was a cosmetics store, a choice that made Hime look utterly bewildered as she gazed around at the endless shelves filled with makeup and skincare products. Atsumu explained his plan with a playful grin, revealing that his experience helping his sister with her makeup had given him the confidence to assist her. He boldly declared that he knew he could create the cuteness she desired, and he was the right person to make it happen. The camera zoomed in on the aisles of makeup, brushes, palettes, and creams, highlighting the tools he intended to use for her transformation. After carefully selecting their products, a friendly store clerk named Haruko Yamaguchi rang up their purchase, glancing at her own past with wistful eyes. She shared that she had once dreamed of becoming a professional makeup artist herself but had fallen out of passion along the way. Her routine had become purely transactional, recommending popular items without much personal feeling, until their enthusiastic arrival momentarily broke her routine. As Atsumu gently tries to soothe the flustered and overwhelmed Hime, a scene unfolds that is both amusing and unexpectedly heartwarming. Nearby, a shop clerk, whose attention is captured by their interaction, perceives them as a charming high school couple caught up in a tender moment. The clerk, amused and perhaps a little envious, observes how naturally the two fit together. He finds himself admiring Hime's effortless, delicate beauty, which seems to glow with innocence and grace. At the same time, he is equally captivated by Atsumu's confident and charismatic demeanor, appreciating the way he carries himself with a quiet charm that draws people's attention. This simple yet genuine display of affection touches the clerk's heart, filling him with a sense of longing and admiration. Without hesitation, Atsumu turns to the clerk and, in a voice full of assuredness and some playful daring, politely asks if it would be possible to borrow a few samples, perhaps some beauty products or styling tools, to experiment with a new look. His tone isn't boastful, but confident, as if he's already confident in his own skill and capable of creating something extraordinary. The clerk, delighted by their friendly interaction and eager to help, points them toward the self-makeup station nestled among the store's displays, happily providing directions and a wide selection of samples to choose from. The helpfulness of the clerk seems genuine, and he is pleased to accommodate what he perceives as a sweet, young couple determined to explore their style. As the clerk muses about how polite and well-mannered Atsumu is, remarking perhaps on his respectful tone and confident gestures, Atsumu begins to lay out a set of tools with careful precision, preparing himself mentally and physically for the transformation ahead. Hime, feeling her heart beat faster with a mixture of excitement and nervousness, hesitantly nods in agreement, silently giving him permission to start. Her cheeks flush and her hands tremble slightly as she prepares herself to undergo a change, trusting Atsumu to work his magic. Meanwhile, the clerk's jaw drops in utter surprise and disbelief upon witnessing the scene unfold in front of him. He is utterly stunned, initially thinking he's witnessing a simple, playful makeover by an inexperienced novice. But as he watches Atsumu expertly arrange the makeup brushes, palettes, and other tools, his skepticism diminishes. The young man isn't just an amateur dabbling at makeup. He is demonstrating an impressive level of skill and finesse that seems almost professional in its execution. The clerk's eyes widen further as Atsumu picks up a brush with a surprising steadiness, holding it in his mouth with a natural ease that only a seasoned artist would possess. With swift, practiced movements, Atsumu begins the transformation. His hands glide precisely over Hime's face, each stroke confident yet gentle, creating a sense of calm and assurance. Every gesture exudes experience and artistry, moving with a fluidity and finesse that seem almost effortless. The clerk's mouth falls open slightly in amazement as he observes the dexterity of Atsumu's work. His precision, attention to detail, and the self-assured confidence with which he handles each tool are truly remarkable. The process is handled with such ease that it appears as if Atsumu has spent years perfecting his craft, despite the casual manner in which he starts. Throughout the procedure, the focus and concentration on Atsumu's face are unmistakable. His movements are sharp but careful, with each step performed with practiced ease. The brush flicks across Hime's features with a delicacy that borders on artistry, creating a look that is both beautiful and subtly cute. His touch is both skilled and surprisingly delicate, a combination that results in a transformation that goes beyond simple makeup application. His ability to choose and blend colors flawlessly, selecting shades that complement Hime's natural complexion, hints at a deep understanding of beauty and artistry. Watching this, the clerk begins to realize that what she initially dismissed as an inexperienced attempt is actually a true act of craftsmanship, a piece of heartfelt artistry infused with genuine care. It's clear that Atsumu's work isn't just about altering appearances. It's about expressing something deeper, something close to love and admiration. The clerk's initial doubts about whether this is merely a trend purpose or a playful experiment are completely erased as she observes his meticulous, almost reverent approach to each step of the makeup process. The moment of final application arrives, and Atsumu, with one last delicate stroke, completes Hime's stunning transformation. After a few brief, focused moments, he steps back slightly, proud of his work and ready to declare the result. With a confident smile, he proclaims that the makeover is finally finished. Hime's eyes flutter open, and she gazes into the mirror, stunned by the breathtaking new reflection staring back at her. Her features have been subtly, yet beautifully enhanced, giving her a soft, adorable appearance that radiates innocence and charm. Her heart races as she struggles to believe that the girl in the mirror, her, but transformed, is truly herself. Feeling her newfound confidence, Hime hesitantly turns to Atsumu, her cheeks flushed with excitement and gratitude. She shyly asks for his opinion, and he admits with a bashful smile that he incorporated some trendy style elements, blending her natural beauty with current fashion influences. Overjoyed and energized by the transformation, Hime bursts into praise, praising his talent and skill, feeling as if she has stepped into an entirely new persona. Her words flow freely, filled with admiration and amazement, as she recognizes that this makeover has given her a fresh sense of identity and confidence. From her position behind the counter, the already stunned clerk observes this scene unfold with a mixture of surprise and wonder. Watching Atsumo's skillful handiwork, so precise, so thoughtfully executed, she begins to truly understand the incredible transformative power of makeup. It is more than just surface beauty. It's a form of art that can reveal the best version of oneself, infused with genuine emotion and care. Inspired by what she has witnessed, the clerk's own passion for cosmetics is reignited, and she feels a renewed sense of purpose and inspiration in her work. As the clerk's admiration grows, she notices the growing attention Atsumo's talents attract from others. Several young girls, eager and curious, gather around him, eager to learn his secrets, to understand how he managed such an impressive transformation. Their eager questions and excited whispers fill the air as they surround him, silently marveling at his seemingly innate skill. Meanwhile, Hime, with a playful pout, gently takes Atsumo's hand, a signal that she's ready to leave, and with a determined expression, she pulls him gently away from the crowd, seeking a moment alone. Her loud declaration that the crowd is interrupting their date makes Atsumo blush furiously as they hurriedly slip away, leaving the collective admiration behind. They find refuge near a charming fountain, where Atsumo finally sighs in relief and confesses that she surprised him. He had no idea she'd take such an active role. Hime, with a twinkle of determination in her eyes, explains that she couldn't possibly allow the crowd to spoil their special day, emphasizing her desire to cherish this moment together. She asserts that their time is too precious to waste on fans or onlookers, and her words, bold and affectionate, leave both of them blushing intensely. The romantic undertones become unmistakably clear as she admits that she truly values sharing this time with him, and the effect leaves them both overwhelmed with warmth and affection, hearts pounding with sweet emotion. Atsumo gently points out that she is talking about her feelings with a surprising amount of ease, and in that moment, Hime recognizes that her confidence mirrors how she feels when she's streaming online, relaxed, expressive, and genuinely herself. Her radiant, blushing smile is filled with gratitude for Atsumo, the one who helped her unlock this newfound self-assurance. Her sincere thankfulness seems to resonate deeply within him, leaving his heart fluttering wildly and rendering him momentarily speechless and flustered. Their joyful day continues as they strolling through the mall, trying on clothes, sharing snacks, and laughing together, completely immersed in each other's company. After purchasing the makeup, they excitedly plan their next stop, a cozy little bakery famous for its delectable strawberry cakes. The anticipation of enjoying sweet treats and sharing more happy moments adds the perfect finishing touch to their idyllic date. However, this perfect day is suddenly interrupted by the appearance of familiar, unwelcome faces. Their expressions change instantly as Atsumo recognizes the approaching figures. It's Kongu, a delinquent known for his troublemaking, flanked by two intimidating thugs from his gang. The scene quickly shifts to the grand entrance of the Amagasaki mansion, where a sleek car waits silently at the driveway, its presence hinting at recent busy activities inside the estate. The new intern, Rima, who has been impatiently waiting, urges someone inside the mansion to stop dawdling and get into the vehicle immediately, her voice tinged with urgency. Inside the mansion, tension hangs heavy in the air. Yu, the president's secretary, glares sharply at Rima, holding her responsible for their delay and the sense of impending trouble. Her worry is palpable as she considers the possible consequences of being late. This scene, however, takes us back 2 days to a significant event at the Yamagasaki agency, a turning point involving Atsumo, who was recently dismissed from his managerial position, creating a noticeable gap in the agency's operations and management structure. Yuki, the secretary of the agency's president, is anxious about the future, worried about how the decision to dismiss Atsumo might impact their work and reputation. Despite the upheaval caused by the sudden change in staffing and the chaotic rescheduling of projects, no major issues have yet arisen. Yuki clings to hope that their new intern, Rima, will perform satisfactorily under pressure. Her concern about the agency's stability is compounded as the scene shifts to a bustling downtown TV station, hinting at ongoing activities involving the agency's associates and perhaps revealing further complications. Meanwhile, Rima, trying to appear confident despite her nervousness, is embarrassed by a minor mishap, likely a mistake caused during her attempt to handle an important task. This slip fuels her anxiety, especially as she faces confrontations from others, most notably Mitsuki, the fifth daughter of the Yamagasaki family and a popular idol, who confronts Rima with a mixture of anger and frustration. Mitsuki worries that her carefully crafted image is being threatened by the perceived incompetence or clumsiness of the new intern, and she makes her feelings known, her voice sharp with concern. The scene intensifies when the new manager, Rima, nervously tries to defend herself, claiming she attempted to wake the idol but was unsuccessful. Her explanation, however, does little to quell Mitsuki's suspicion, as the idol moves menacingly closer and twists Rima's words, essentially accusing her of failing at her most basic responsibility. A flashback vividly illustrates Rima's desperation, her frantic pounding on the idol's door, her panic-ridden attempts to wake her in time, emphasizing her inexperience and the mounting pressure she's under. Back at the TV station, amid the tense atmosphere, a quiet staff member interrupts the heated exchange, perhaps attempting to defuse the situation or bring some much-needed calm into the chaos. This chain of events hints at larger underlying tensions within the agency and the entertainment world, setting the stage for further developments that will test the resilience and skills of everyone involved, while still echoing the theme of personal growth and adaptation amidst adversity. The assistant, a staff member responsible for various tasks, gently informs Mitsuki that her scheduled break time has come to an end, and her presence is urgently required for the upcoming show. Hearing this, Mitsuki responds with a dismissive scoff that exudes disdain, her sharp and somewhat cruel expression causing even the new manager to flinch slightly in surprise. Yet, almost instantaneously, she shifts her mood, effortlessly transforming into her idol persona. A dazzling wink lights up her face as she offers a cheerful, rehearsed thank you, her tone perfectly calibrated to charm and amuse. As she confidently struts away, radiating her usual confident allure, the overwhelmed Rima, the young and inexperienced assistant, suddenly slumps against the wall, completely defeated by the pressure and chaos surrounding her. Meanwhile, the new manager, whose name is Rema, is overwhelmed by the circumstances she finds herself in, despairing as she grapples with the seemingly unfair treatment she's already experiencing on the very first day. A glance at her profile reveals that her latest client is none other than Mitsuki, one of the infamous fifth sisters of the Yamagasaki family and a wildly popular idol renowned not just for her musical talent but also for her audacious, daring public persona. This realization leaves Rema feeling completely intimidated, as she begins to understand that behind Mitsuki's glamorous, radiant public image lies a notoriously difficult and unpredictable personality that is far from easy to handle. As their sleek automobile speeds through the city streets at night, the stresses and mounting responsibilities continue to weigh heavily on the young intern. She struggles to keep her composure, trying to bridle her nerves by reminding herself that managing a top-tier celebrity is a golden opportunity, something she cannot afford to ruin. Her thoughts are suddenly interrupted by Mitsuki, who impatiently snaps her fingers and orders the inexperienced assistant to cease her daydreaming and immediately focus on doing her makeup. The idol, with a touch of condescension in her voice, reminds Rema that this is precisely the reason she was hired, to look after every detail of her appearance. Panic suddenly rises in Rema's chest. She begins to question the demand, unsure how to proceed, and points out that professional makeup artists are typically responsible for such tasks. Mitsuki regards her with a look of contempt and insists that any competent manager should possess the skill to apply makeup on the spot. Feeling flustered and unsure of herself, Rema admits she has never heard of such a requirement before, an answer that only fuels the idol's cruel amusement. Internally, Rema panics, fearing that this seemingly impossible task is beyond any manager's capabilities. A flashback vividly contrasts this scene, showing Atsumu, a skilled and gentle professional, carefully applying makeup with effortless expertise, a stark difference to Rima's anxious inexperience. Mitsuki scoffs loudly in disgust, rattling her makeup kit as she prepares herself to push the issue further. With an intimidating glare, she thrusts her makeup kit toward Rema, demanding immediate compliance. her expression a mixture of contempt and authority. The car rushes onward toward the studio as the idol explains that as soon as they arrive, they will begin recording immediately. Leaning in close with a venomous tone, Mitsuki accuses the intern of trying to sabotage her career, making it clear that any failure at this stage could be disastrous. Later that evening, the scene transitions back to the opulent residence belonging to the Amagasaki family. Mitsuki storms into her lavish room in a fit of rage, loudly protesting her frustration about her new manager's incompetence. Her eyes burn with fury as she vividly recalls the humiliation she suffered earlier. Specifically, the botched makeup job that turned her into a laughingstock on set. Her fury finds an outlet as she stomps around, expressing her displeasure. In her fiery anger, she takes her frustration out on a stuffed animal, furious that yet another problem has arisen just after she managed to rid herself of Atsumu, whom she now considers a threat or nuisance. A sinister smile slowly spreads across her face as she quietly contemplates her next move, a plan to vent her anger in a way that leaves her feeling victorious. She suddenly cracks open a can of an energy drink or some forbidden treat, smiling devilishly as she indulges in it, knowing no one is around to stop her. She chugs the drink aggressively, finally giving in to her wild, rebellious side, her entire demeanor relaxing as she sits back on the couch. Surrounded by an assortment of snacks, she leans into her moment of freedom, savoring the bliss of acting on her own terms without anyone watching. With a triumphant smirk, she imagines Atsumu's miserable fate, feeling a twisted sense of satisfaction that she is now free from restrictions. Her mood soaring, Mitsuki grabs her phone and snaps a few carefree selfies with her younger sister, then posts them online. A wicked grin spreads across her face as she mocks her followers, confident that manipulating her audience for viral fame is an effortless game. She revels in her perceived power in the digital realm, mocking and teasing her fans as she watches her posts gain rapid traction. Her smugness deepens as she enjoys her newfound control, mocking her followers' reactions while she observes her content's viral success. Later that night, she falls asleep peacefully, her phone buzzing ceaselessly with notifications, likes, comments, shares, all affirming her social media dominance.